So I know I was talking about, the Latino vote before, the Viva vote for Donald Trump. Okay, well, let's get on to the white folks, the white farmers. So, word is out now that the white farmers voted for Donald Trump because they thought they were going to get black Americans in the fields. Because they also thought black folks did not have jobs. So when we put this all together, somehow the white farmers were convinced that black folks don't have jobs. We don't work. we don't work. And so they voted for Donald Trump because they thought, okay, he gonna send them in the fields. So Donald Trump and them, with their whole Project 2025, said, okay, so we got to make this happen. So we got to cut these DEI stuff, all this DEI stuff, to put black Americans out of work.
Oh no, this is so sad. There are a bunch of white Texas farmers who are losing their farms right now. Because guess what? 100% of their workforce vanished.
Family Texas farmers, especially those relying to undocumented labor, are now facing a crisis and are begging black folks to help them in this time of crisis where they are losing up to 100% of their workforce. Black folks have taken online to laugh at them, saying they voted for Donald Trump. They are Maga farmers who voted for Donald Trump, knowing or rather thinking that black folks did not have work. They thought that they shall put black people to work for them, in their big plantations. And black people are laughing at them online, saying this is not another, form of slavery that they want to put in the modern day. And right now they're laughing at them, saying that karma is finally facing them, because black people won't help them out of the crisis. Black people have work to do. And family, there's been different reactions online. So I want you to listen to this video keenly and see how they were depending on black folks, in this time that they are facing this crisis with the workforce. They actually voted in Donald Trump, knowing very, very well that there will be a lot of mass deportations, and they know very well that they have always been depending, on undocumented labor, the same migrants, and they chose to vote for Donald Trump. They thought that black people, would come and work for them once the undocumented people are chased away of America. So guys, I wanted to watch this video as people laugh and explain the situation. Once the series of videos are done, we will get back and do a critical analysis about the same. Let's watch these together, family.
So I know I was talking about, the Latino vote before, the Viva vote for Donald Trump. Okay, well, let's get on to the white folks, the white farmers. So, word is out now that the white farmers voted for Donald Trump because they thought they were going to get black Americans in the fields. Because they also thought black folks did not have jobs. So when we put this all together, somehow the white farmers were convinced that black folks don't have jobs. We don't work. we don't work. And so they voted for Donald Trump because they thought, okay, he gonna send them in the fields. So Donald Trump and them, with their whole Project 2025, said, okay, so we got to make this happen. So we got to cut these DEI stuff, all this DEI stuff, to put black Americans out of work. When in reality, they put a bunch of white folk out of work just to get black folks out of work. And so all these cuts All these cuts that are happening are to try and harm Black Americans so much till they think that we're going to go into the fields. Now, when you think about that, that makes you double back and see why they want the Latinos out. Because the Latinos, right, to them, they are reproducing entirely too fast, okay? And so they're like, we got to get them out of here because Black Americans don't reproduce as fast as the Latinos. And so if we could get them out, then the Black Americans can take their place in the field. This is for real. And so now you double back to the Black jobs. They're taking your job. Yes, you got to double back to what he said. They're taking Black jobs, y'all. Like, they have all this down. Like, they have all this whole circle. So now let's go back to the farmers if you're still with me, okay? Because the white farmers, that's what they believed was going to happen. So if y'all got all that straight, this is a message to the white farmers. The last thing you want is for Black Americans to be in your fields. Don't let the devil fool you. As a matter of fact, you might want to let the devil fool you to see what's going to happen. Well, I'm trying to tell you, the last thing you ever going to want is Black Americans in your fields. Nah, I'm going to let you fill in the blank on that one. And this goes to show that they will go to any lengths. Remember I said that, first of all, we had the Latinos, some Latinos, not all of them, just them Cubans, some Cuban ones, talk about you're next, right? To Black Americans. So they thought we was immigrants, okay? And so now we have the white farmers who are still living in the 1700s, thinking back to glory days, quote unquote. They thought with their vote, we were going to the fields. So you got one group thinking they gonna kick us out of here, and you got another group of people thinking that we going to the fields. Now this right here is a real mental problem because people are literally stuck. I'm telling y'all, people are stuck in the 1700s when they think about Black Americans, okay? I'm telling you, their thought process, they sit around probably campgrounds and picnics and stuff and talk about how can we make this happen? That was their heyday. I'm telling you, when that freaking plantation house burned down in Louisiana, I think, right? That was their heyday. Now, I'm trying to tell you, that was their heyday. When that plantation house down in Louisiana got torched, okay? I'm telling you, that broke them. But I just want to, I want to teach them a little bit more history if I have your attention, right? If I have your attention, right? This is some history that a lot of people don't know, okay? But y'all didn't know Black Americans had white servants? Y'all ain't know that? I mean, it wasn't widespread or anything like that, but we had white servants. Yeah, and they wanted to be our servants because they needed work. They were coming over from Europe. Yeah, and they were docile too. Yeah, they were docile. And Black Americans, the aristocrats, the wealthy ones, because there were wealthy ones, okay? They had white servants. So I don't know if y'all ever see them pictures. Let me find a picture. I couldn't find a picture. I wasn't gonna go back and try to find a picture. But if you can watch videos, you'll be able to find a picture of possibly some Black people in the horse-drawn carriages. And there may be someone white as the horseman or I'm not sure what you call them, coachman or whatever. Yeah, he worked for them. Yes, indeed. It was a big thing. It was a big thing, when everybody began to see in the early 1900s, what? Black Americans, they use the other word. Black Americans have white servants. Yeah, that's a bit of history they don't like to put on TV. And the reason for it is because they were like, okay, they had white people here that they could hire And they also had black people here that they could hire. But they felt that the white people from Europe were so docile, and they were less expensive. Now, they weren't the only ones who thought that. The wealthy white people thought that too. The wealthy white people were like, yeah, we like the docile immigrant white people. They're a lot cheaper. They take less money. Yeah, so there's a bit of history for you. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it was like that. Oh yeah, because they knew they would have to pay black Americans a lot more. Lot more. So they always went for the immigrant. And see, when the black Americans hired the white immigrants, they were like really like, yes, we will do it. Yes, we will do it, because they want to stay in America. Here's the difference. Here's the difference though. Black Americans didn't mistreat them. They didn't mistreat them at all. But anyway, that's just a little side note. But yeah, to the white farmers again, this is the last thing you want. The last thing you want is for black Americans to be out in your fields. The last thing you want. Trust and believe. And next time, you know what? Stop basing your vote on how to harm black Americans, because you're going to end up running into that wall that's going to tumble. Okay? That's what's going to end up happening. Stop doing that. All of you do it. Like, all of you. You had the conservative Asian Americans coming through with the whole Ivy League school. We don't want black Americans there. Then you had the I will vote for Donald Trump Cubans, okay, who were thinking, okay, you're next, okay? Okay, we're not immigrants, so we're not next. And now we have the white farmer who thought that they were going to get the black Americans in the fields. And then this is all off of Project 2025. So now look where you got America. Look where you got the United States of America. And you know, a lot of people say, why black Americans think everything revolves around them? No, y'all think everything revolves around us because y'all make everything revolve around us. Y'all stuff coming out.
So I just saw this video of this white man who's not Maga, by the way, or at least he says he's not, but because he damn sure selling the look. But he says he has a fake account over on Twitter, and he joined this group of white farmers, and he's pretending to be MAGA just to see what they're talking about. So apparently they had this group chat or group call where the white MAGA farmers were upset and saying the only reason why they voted for shitty britches was because they thought the blacks didn't have jobs and the blacks would come back and work their fields. They thought they were going to get slavery back by voting for shitty britches. But they have been saying loud and proud with their chest that immigrants were taking their jobs. Yet, there are a couple of farms here in Texas that overnight lost 100% of their workforce. But immigrants was taking their jobs, right? Racism is expensive, huh?
So y'all remember when it was said that we taking all the black jobs? They really thought that we was going to be looking for black jobs, y'all. And I woke up this morning, I was scrolling through TikTok, and I saw this guy made a video, and I saved it to my favorite, so you can go look for it. And he said he was pretending to be MAGA on one of those other apps. He said they were doing a live, and the farmers were saying that they thought that the black people would be looking for jobs to work on their farms. Now, you got to be kidding me. Do they think we really looking for farm work? Do they not know that we are educated and we got degrees? And being a farm worker ain't even in the jobs categories that we be looking for. They really don't know how educated some of us are. They don't know how many degrees a lot of us have. They got to be really lost if they think that we want to come and work on their farms. They don't know that our parents and our grandparents growing up wouldn't even let us be outside if it wasn't no shade outside. Do they really think that we gonna work on a farm where ain't no shade trees at? I hate to disappoint y'all, baby, But you're going to have to get somebody else to do it. Because we ain't working on nobody's farm. Never. The only way you're going to see black people working on a farm is if they own the farm. Because we not working on nobody's farm as no workers. So I hate to disappoint y'all. If y'all thought those was black jobs that black people looking for, honey, you better think again. Because black folks that I know got good jobs. We've had a black president. We had a black vice president. We got black senators. We got black congressmen. We got black CEOs. We got black doctors. We got black nurses. We got black psychiatrists. We got a lot of good black jobs. Now, I don't know what y'all thought we was going to be farm workers for. We don't even want to work in the fast food industry. Those jobs, we don't want those kind of jobs. So, I hate to disappoint you MAGA people, but we don't do farm work. So get somebody else to do it. I would like, share, comment, and repost. Drop in the comments y'all education and y'all good black jobs. Because they don't think we got good black jobs out here. So we need to let them see it.
Oh no, this is so sad. There are a bunch of white Texas farmers who are losing their farms right now. Because guess what? 100% of their workforce vanished. Wow. So all those people, who got eyes called on them, they were working on the farms. So now that they're gone, they cannot sustain the farms. You know what's crazy about this video? Because I talked about this like 2 months ago when Trump brought over all these South Afrikaners, farm people, where we find out that they were not really even farmers. And I was talking about this and found out that a few of our dear white farmers here had started losing their farms because of promises that were made to them and was not kept by this administration. So now it's trickling down to some other farmers because now their workforce, they're gone. And I was seeing somewhere where somebody came over, and it was a Caucasian man. He came over from Twitter, and he was like, y'all, a lot of these farmers, white farmers, they thought that black people were going to come and work for their farms. There's a lot going on in this country right now. Us heading into possibly World War II. But this is a conversation just to kind of talk about right now. That people are kind of seeing I guess, what's the word? I can't even find the word, but the decisions that they made, they are coming back to hunt them. Let's just say that. So sorry to hear this, but yeah. So I do hope that some of these Native Americans that did lose their lands, that they do get back some of these farms that are being lost.
Them farmers really thought we was going back to them fields. They really thought we was going back to them fields. You know what? My mother was the first generation on her mother's side not to be brought up on a plantation. Not to be brought up on a plantation. That's what I said. My grandfather had a 3rd grade education, but he left my mama 2 houses, property in the bank, property and money in the bank, with a 3rd grade education. And guess what? He worked in fields. My great-grandmother worked in fields and cut that cane just like a man. You hear me? And if you think that Eddie Lewis and Victoria C. Jones and all the rest of my ancestors bust their tail in them fields for us to go back to the fields, absolutely not. That's not progress. We're trying to heal from ancestral trauma. We're trying to heal from that. That ain't happening. That produce could rot in them fields before we go back to them fields. They need to let them know that.
We're here. We are here at the FAFO stage. This is really bad. And if you appreciate my content, please engage with this video. I'm just going to read this to you. Multiple Texas farms shut down after almost 100% of workforce vanishes overnight. In a stunningly swift overnight change, some Texas farm operations had to shut down after losing virtually all of their workforce, an exodus triggered by the increase in immigration raids and increased enforcement. The ripple effects of these raids are the gift that keeps on giving and will be felt nationwide. Unpicked crops are now left unharvested. Livestock were left untended, and rural economies are on edge. The story isn't just a tale of woe for Texas farms, it's a warning for American agribusiness, food prices, and communities that keep food on our plates. I need you to share this with every Republican you know. And you don't even need to wait for their response. They just need to know what's happening. And this is part of my line of work. I deal with commercial farmers, including these small farmers, as clients. And I cannot tell you how this is the beginning of the complete collapse of our economy under this Project 2025 administration that doesn't know what they're doing. You talk about the immediate shuttering of farms, because this is actually what's happening. With the food, with the harvests that are lying there completely rotting, that is a loss of food to local food distributors, local grocery stores, local restaurants, hospitals. They sell their harvests, all sorts of vegetables, to businesses within the state of Texas. This is where you can go into your local grocery store, and now you're going to see hardly any vegetables or fruit, depending on what they're growing, or a shortage of meat. This is what's going to happen. Now, all of the other industries that support farming, you've got local pesticide, herbicide, fertilizer suppliers that are just, their sales are going to plummet. These farmers aren't going to be purchasing that. You've got H-2A workers who are now gone, migrant workers who are now gone. They were paying taxes. Even if they didn't have social security numbers, they were given tax numbers, tax ID numbers. So now you got millions of dollars just poof, gone overnight from these Texas communities. You've got trucking companies that are hired to haul the produce from the farms to the packaging plants. You've got packaging plants who wash the vegetables, grade the vegetables, pack the vegetables, whose sales are going to plummet. Now you're going to have other industries who don't employ either migrant workers or H-2A workers who are going to have layoffs. This is all under Republican leadership, not just from the White House, but from the Republicans that were elected in the state of Texas. And if you think this is going to stop at Texas, you've got another thing coming. And you want to know which farms are going to be impacted further down the road? They're going to be safe for now. There's a small percentage of farmers who are actually Democrats. And they understand how important it is to protect their employees, take care of their employees. Those employees who feel safe will keep showing up for work because they know the owners have their backs, which says something about these other farms where the employees are like, I'm too scared to show up. Let me add this final thing. This is going to impact farmers. They're at risk of going out of business. Who's going to jump in? The federal government to compensate them with our tax dollars. So now our tax dollars is going to be used to cover the bullshit leadership of this administration on top of the overwhelming increasing tax dollars being used by this administration to scare, to deport, to imprison people with brown skin. Like, our tax dollars are not helping everyday Americans at all. And this is just the beginning under Republican leadership. Share this video.
Most of the undocumented labor in these Texas farms are afraid of ICE raids. You know, that is ongoing right now in America. There's a lot of ICE raids in these farms because they know very well most of these farm workers are usually undocumented people. And now the Texas farmers, you know, are now crying, asking for black people to come and rescue them in this difficult time. They now, they actually voted in Donald Trump. They are Maga voters. They voted Donald Trump knowing that in case, you know, there will be mass deportations, they'll actually depend on black folks. But right now they found black people not interested in working for them. And this has brought a lot of worries, a lot of crises in their farms, and they're actually going bankrupt soon. I went further to do my research in regards to the same, and here's what I found out, that they are mostly relying on undocumented labor, you know, and they're facing severe workforce crisis. It's not that all existing workers are leaving, rather fears around the immigration enforcement and the ongoing ICE raids are causing huge labor absences across the agriculture sector, not only in Texas. And right now they are begging for help from black folk. You know, there are labor shortages from ICE activity. In Texas, dairy and crop farms are reporting daily disruptions because workers, both undocumented and legal, are not showing up out of fear of raids. Texas Agricultural Commissioner Sid Miller calls the situation sheer panic, you know, as routine tasks like milking cows go undone. You know, they were fully depending on undocumented labor, and yet they voted in Donald Trump. You know, some of these MAGA voters at times just make me ask myself a lot of questions. You know, how do you depend on undocumented labor? And this very same people chose to vote for Donald Trump, whose main ideology that he was pushing during the campaign period was mass deportations. And many people do actually think that they thought that black people would step up and work for them in their farms. Their farms are now going without 100% of the workforce. The cows are not being milked. There are no people to plow their lands, no people to harvest, you know, and this is in turn affecting them. Then the enforcement hits undocumented workers hardest. ICE escalated its deportation campaign, arresting hundreds daily, including farm workers. Roughly 40% of US farm workers are undocumented. With enforcement pressure high, many are opting to stay home, leaving vital vaults empty. The labor shortage isn't just a farm problem. It affects the food supply chain, the dairy production, the seasonal harvests, and it could raise prices. Visibly, farms are unable to process or plant crops, and routine livestock care is jeopardized. You know, and the only people they actually think would come to their rescue are black folk. And black people, as you've seen in those videos, are laughing at them, saying that they are no longer slaves. They won't be working to these MAGA farmers, you know, who are being affected right now in Texas. They're saying, it's saying they do, you know, they just find a way to solve themselves because they knew very, very well, even as they were voting for Donald Trump, you know. Dependence on migrant labor, states like Texas have long relied on undocumented migrant labor for dairy, fruits, and vegetables. Many native-born workers are unwilling to take over these demanding roles, and legal visa programs like the H-2A can't fill the gap quickly enough. And there is a lot of fear among the legal workers too. There is widespread raids. These widespread raids have made legal residents fearful as well. The uncertainty has reached a tipping point where even willing workers avoid farms due to confusion over policies and mixed messaging. This is affecting the food production, you know, because without the timely labor, the crops are not harvested. Dairy cows go unmilked, you know, and the live operations like the livestock care are jeopardized and threatens not only the farmer but the livelihood, of the consumers too. And these policies are really affecting them, and they are now calling for reforms. Industry leaders and economists advocate expanding legal work visas, and instituting streamlined guest worker programs to restore workforce stability. Family, that is something that has just hit Texas really hard right now. Comment down below. Let me know what you think about the same. Do you think that black people should come and help them? For me, it's a no. If you're a black folk and you have something you're doing, continue doing your stuff, because some of these people voted intentionally for Donald Trump thinking that we black folks would come and rescue them, and that is not happening anytime soon. Guys, like this video so that it can be recommended to other YouTube users, and kindly do consider subscribing to the channel. We are currently on the road to 50,000 subscribers. Thank you guys, and see you all in our next episode. Goodbye for now.